But I also think just being able to, if you take your child to the park, and have social interaction, and again, you're modeling. Right? So maybe you're in there playing and you're with your kids, and maybe there's another child that comes. You're like, oh, hi. Hi, and then you can be, oh, this is, what's your name? And again, you're modeling without forcing it. And if the child doesn't say anything and doesn't want to, say, okay, well, we're here playing. And then again, you model that, well, we're here playing if you want to play with us, and things like that. And I think that again is really without like forcing it. So they don't have to
Yes,
necessarily play with the child, but you are putting them in an environment where they may have that opportunity, and then to
absolutely.
be there with them, again, that modeling, you're navigating everything you're saying, all your words, even if it's like, oh, somebody's on the swing right now, okay, so we're going to wait for our turn, and then it will be our turn. I mean, all of those things are learning. I mean, they're learning so much in that, and I think that that is one of the best ways, again, for them to see it. So to provide it, to have the opportunity there, but it's not forced. um
Exactly. Kind of open that gate, but don't shove them through. Like,
Exactly. You want to
very
give
good
them the
tip.
opportunity and give them that chance, but yes, not force or push them, because that could have, the opposite effect. And then, then they're very socially, can become very socially anxious. They don't want to. So you definitely want, obviously, to them to be comfortable, and in a sense, but I think that, yeah, just those natural opportunities, or even just being out, just getting
Mhm.
having a chance to go out, and even if you're just taking a walk, or going to stopping at a cafe or a grocery store, because those are all social interactions, right? And
Yes.
again, they're seeing you. So, oh, if you see somebody and you have to get by somebody, oh, excuse me, all of those things they're learning and they're picking up on, and you're showing them what it means to interact socially, but without saying, oh, this, you have to do this now.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. And then you also are seeing that so many more kids are shy or a lot more reserved or awkward. And so how can parents support those children and their social growth without labeling them shy or awkward?
Yeah, I think again, it's about, maybe just again, putting them in that, having them be in the environment, an opportunity to practice, but not labeling, right? You don't have to label and say, oh, because a lot of times we do that too, even
Mhm.
inadvertently. We'll go, oh, are you being shy? When a child, and I think, it obviously comes from a good place. We're not trying to, it's always good intention, but I think those are the areas where we could be aware of, where we don't need to label it good or bad, and people are all different, right? And I think a lot of support comes, I'm a big believer, especially because, as I said, being in the early childhood classroom, in books and reading and being able to learn a lot through books. And I think that books are a great tool for teaching, because there are all kinds of stories that, are about friendship, or about, how we're all different. Some of us are quiet and some of us are loud. Some of us like to run, some
Yeah.
of us like to sit, so, we do a lot of that, like in the early childhood classroom,
Mhm.
just to start to, again, it's a great way to expose them and to see that, like, we are all different. Oh, and then they might say, oh, I like to be quiet, or I like to be loud. And so then they feel a connection. And again, it's building that that we're just all different, and there's not a good or a bad or a right or a wrong. And so I think that just you being, talking in, using vocabulary in that way is important, rather than, specifically being like, oh, you're shy. Oh, you're, it's just giving opportunities. We are different. And sometimes we might be shy, but sometimes we might not be. So I think,
Mhm.
that's the other thing, is we don't want to, if you label, then I think you have more of a tendency to kind of push necessarily somebody in that direction. Whereas I think we all are much more generally malleable than that. I think it kind of is very depends on the situation, depends on who we're with, depends on if it's a big group, if it's a small group. It can depend on our mood. So I think that because of that, it's better to stay away from, maybe labeling, but just, again, exposing them to all different, environments, I think is really, really key.